Considering youths, okay, let's start off with this. Officially, what's the age bracket that we're going to go ahead and put youths into? Age bracket.
Officially, by definition of the International Labour Organization, it's 15 to 24. But here in Nepal, according to our data, it has an extension, an open end, let's say up to 30 year or 35. So, yeah.
Okay.
For vocational trainings and stuff, it's usually like around 35 is usually the cutoff time. Then, yeah.
Yeah, so 18 to 35, let's say.
16 to 35.
16 to 35. 16 to 35. All right. Well, do share about the project. Let's get started with that.
Okay. I think what I like here in the work with the Swiss Development Corporation is to have systemic projects. And the quality project helps to improve the quality of all TVET schools in Nepal. We have a project which helps the school to improve the quality by offering treatments and help them what is quality, what is the school quality. For example, having a good infrastructure, having an improvement plan, having a self-assessment, having a good infrastructure, having teachers who are educated. These are aspects of quality. And then there's a side part where I'm involved. We are doing research and we backstop that both units, the quality unit to do the treatment, but also the Council for Technical Education and Training, so that they can learn on the way forward what we figure out in our data with the research.
Yeah.
That's a cool project, because if the schools can deliver a good quality, it's good for the students and the apprentices.
Yeah. The recognition of, like you mentioned earlier, Pankaj, right? The recognition of prior learning. Touch base on that a little bit.
So, recognition of prior learning is basically one of the assessment tool and a certification tool, which allows, no matter where you learned, so let's say you dropped out of school and you joined your local restaurants as a cook.
Let's say you finished class 8 and then you just moved on,
right? And then you start to become a cook. You learn it there, a few things. You progress. You become better and better at it. Now you really think like you're good enough. You can probably move into the formal labor market, but without a formal education or formal certificate, like a hotel like Marriott is not going to hire you, right? So this recognition of prior learning, what it allows you to do is you go to a counselor. You say these are the skills that I have. And he asks you a few questions, and then you're like, okay, you probably have, it looks like you have these skills. You probably don't have these skills to be certified. That is what the industries are requiring. So you can either come learn those skills and come back for the assessment, or you can do an assessment and get whatever skills you have. We'll say you are competent on those skills, and then after that, CTEVT provides you a certificate, which should empower you to actually go and find employment in, for example, Marriott, that really uplifts your socioeconomic mobility, your income, but also your social status. So that is RPL. Success stories. What it enabled, a few people who learned how to become masons after the earthquake was, so these are all people from very rural Sindhu Palchok. They said it was 6 hours drive from Dhuli Hill, so you can imagine where they are.
Yeah.
And they learned the skills. They practiced being masons in the vicinity when they had the construction going on after the earthquake.
Post-earthquake, yeah.
Post-earthquake. And afterwards, there's no construction happening in their vicinity, so they have to move somewhere else. And, they're not going to find the formal employment. So this helped one female person to actually become a trainer, which is formal employment. Somebody else to become a formal contractor, because now they can submit and sign off on the contract. And so it just helps you move up the economic ladder, find a larger base of employment.
Yeah. So, yes, please go ahead.
And if I may say, this is a success story for Nepal, because RPL, recognition of prior learning, is extremely difficult to organize. Here you have an asset. You have the National Skills Testing Board with all the skills test center. They exist, and that's a precondition to do that. So I think compared to other countries, this is an extremely important instrument. and you just have to use them more.
And let me just touch base on this. You work in other countries too, like you
Yes.
mentioned to me earlier as well, right?
Yeah,
Do you
about
give
50.
Nepal's example to when you go to other countries?
Oh yes, Nepal is my rock star. I can tell you, I work with several states in the United States, with Latin American countries, with African countries, with, you name it, European countries. But it's the only country, and maybe it's due to your constitutional change, who works on the system level to engineer the whole system. And all the systemic relevant instruments are here, are available. Sometimes on the paper, we need to go more into the detail to implement it into the practical context. But I haven't seen any other country who has that, and I think this is a huge asset.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that, and give more examples of us.
Yeah, I teach the American people, they go to Nepal. You see that these are good people.
I love you even more. Pankaj, could you share a bit about CTEVT, the Council for Technical Education and Vocational Training, and the history behind it, to friends who don't know this yet?
Wow.
Just the gist of it.
Just the gist of it. Well, CTEVT, so there were vocational education centuries, right? Like we had, fathers teaching their daughters, their sons to become carpenters or your wood carvers. But then that slowly started becoming more formalized, and then there were different education plans that helped formalize it. And then the first formal vocational schools were like the Balaji School of Engineering, the Giri Technical Schools. And then I think then it became realized like you really start to need technicians to really develop the country. And that's when in 1989, I think, the CTEVT was founded. So they call it the apex body for vocational education, vocation training and technical education. And it's part of the Ministry of Education. They run diploma courses in different fields, and then they also do certification for vocational skills training and stuff like that.
And it's so when I think about it, right? It's been good solid 35 years, plus more than 35 years, right? Where do we stand today when it comes to CTEVT and when it comes to supporting CTEVT?
Well, as always, if you are in the middle of a big change project like the federalization process here, all institutions need to rethink, according to the new constitution, what is their role. I see the CTEVT as a huge competence center for TVET because of the history they have, because of the knowledge, because of the experience. Is an extremely important body. However, some roles which they have, for example, this is part of our quality project. We want to see what kind of schools are under the CTEVT and what kind of schools are outside CTEVT. And the future, according to the constitution, the schools should be handed over to the social development ministries of the provinces. So this is a question of at what time, because it must be wisely thought through, because we should not lose anyone. We need all the schools, we need all the teachers, and we need a good management of those schools. And that's why the quality team, the quality project, actually helps to manage that role. The CTEVT is also, I would say, the only body in TVET which has the monitoring and evaluation framework. So for me as a researcher, they have the data which we can maybe analyze and use for the research.
So let me add this. Prior to the constitution, right? How was CTEVT working towards when it comes to local level, state level, and then federal level? Now we tend to go ahead and get to do that, right? Things are going to get faster?
I would say...
or more challenging?
No, I mean, the whole federalization process with the decentralization of education should empower more people.
Exactly.
And I have been last week in Sudra Pashim visiting some schools, visiting the mayor of Dangadi.
Okay.
And I start to realize how powerful that could be if mayors of polycos and municipalities start to understand, hey, we are knowledge broker. We need to coordinate industry and TVET schools. And we can do more, And in the past, if you are just a centralist apex body of the ministry, sometimes it's difficult to understand what's going on
Lost
the ground.
in translation is definitely going to happen, right?
That's
so
the
now
term.
Empowering the mayors and empowering the local level is more lucrative?
Yes. So I'll actually provide you one good example. So we had we have an Ensure project that really works on vocational training. It provides a 10-month training. So if you want to become a cook or if you want to become a welder, very well-paying jobs.
Yeah, true.
Then, and this trainings used to be offered by CTEVT or like centrally procured and given to schools. So that was how we were operating till 2021, right? And then from 2021, we said, okay, it has to be implemented by the local government. And what we saw after this, the results are coming in. When it was implemented by CTEVT, the skill pass rate, right? Like how many people are certified after the training was around 65%. Now the latest one we have is around 85%. So that, like, when you have the implementing units very close to the schools, they are being monitored much more. So there's a lot of feedback, and then you're also controlling. You're making small adjustments. You're making the whole thing more efficient. So that is one example. The other one is, you need to have a separation between the regulation and the implementation, right? And CTEVT was both a regulator and implementer.
Exactly.
And after the constitution, this role, the implementation role, is now, as per the document, it should be with the provincial and the local government. So I think that's where we'll also add more efficiencies and effectiveness.
And I have another success story in the Palika, or in the city Paratava, Madhya province, where this is the winning team of our implementation lab, which we run together with Kathmandu University, because the mayor start to realize, I have a broker role. I need now to organize the governance of TVET in the local area. And she put together a memorandum of understanding. She could convince the parliament that they approved that. And now they have a new school which acts like an enterprise. So they produce mushrooms. They are selling that for the market. And the mayor, Kalpana, is her name, Katwal. She is also providing seed money for new entrepreneurs, which then just get a short training so that they can sell their products on the market, such as bangles, for example. A lady group produces that. Wonderful story. And I just start to realize that those mayors need a small education to see what could be their role, and if they are triggered, they just make what they think they can do.
And this is the research that you can take and then you can implement it all across the country.
Yes, her idea is, if that governance works, she's actually planning an intergovernmental exchange with the neighbor cities and municipalities, and if that intergovernmental collaboration works, because some of the centers are strong, others are weak, but you can, cross-work across the municipalities, and if she has a proof of concept so that it works in an intergovernmental regime, she will replicate that.
Yeah, and you can easily go ahead and support the weak ones as well.
Exactly.
Yes, you were saying?
I think what federalism allows you to really do is pilot innovations.
Yes.
Test out innovations. And then, before you had to, maybe somebody at the federal ministry had to be convinced. Now you have 373 mayors that can be convinced. So you can have small innovations. Some innovation may work, some innovation may not work.
Yeah, that's fine.
But that's fine, right? But that allows you what works, and you can really bring it up.
That's the whole wonders of democracy. Something that the barriers of implementing TVET today, if we had to go ahead and talk about more barriers that you're facing at the moment, even maybe in policy level?
I mean, the biggest barrier is budget constraints. I mean, frankly speaking, Nepal is not really spending a lot of public money in the TVET sector. That's why we have to find solution where other partners could contribute. And there is a very simple solution for that, and that means it's the industry. Because TVET, robust system, TVET system, they have a partnership between industry and government, governmental schools.
Yeah.
And we have proof of concept for Nepal's company that if they start to train, 18 months, 24 months, they can get a net benefit. So it's a low-hanging fruit for Nepal, I would say. it's just a matter of fact that we now have to train. That's why tomorrow we have this national seminar on education and employment linkage, where we try to convince industry leaders that they should now take action, coordinate themselves, and train people so that they can inform companies, hey, please join this initiative, because if they can take over 60% of the cost of a training and they get a net benefit, let's say 65%, it's a win-win situation for the government, for industry, and for the next generation of talents here in Nepal.
And the program Ursula was talking about was the apprenticeship program. And it's also a win for the government in terms of it's actually cheaper to have people go through the program and get a diploma versus general education or your +2 diploma, because people are spending more time, the industries are training them, and then you also require less contact hours, so less teacher hours, less classroom infrastructure, because they're spending more time in the industry learning. So
and the young talent, according to our causal research, find better jobs. So why you're not spreading that out now? So we have enough of evidence which demonstrate that we have coordinated with donor partners, channel the money in the right. I call that the gold standard for Nepal. Channel the money towards this dual type of apprenticeship, and use young people who went through as ambassador, who can tell the story, why they did that, what kind of jobs they have, and that they are proud to be in this field of occupation.
And like I was mentioning earlier, the media needs to go ahead and share more success stories of people who are going to be doing this. Share more about the apprenticeship program, and especially the dual one. Share more light on this. When did we start it, and where do we stand today, and what towards the future?
2019.
19, right?
Yeah, they started, and that's the biggest problem was COVID in between. That, but I have to say, everybody always
the
think
whole world
it's
went
over.
through it. Yeah.
It's over, and even though we had COVID, we have causal effect results which demonstrate it's worthwhile to do for two reasons. For apprentices, they find better jobs, and they are less underemployed. So this is the good news. The second good news is it pays off for companies. So for me, there is now the window of opportunity to start. However, of course, we need to organize the industry. They need to understand that opportunity which they have, and they need to spread out the message through the members. Please join our initiative. We just had a survey among 600 Nepali companies, and
what kind of companies?
Everything, the whole across industry. Mainly, after majority were from the manufacturing field, for the construction sector, but it's a good representative sample. And what we see is actually 70% of companies are not not at all involved in training. But when we ask them, would you be willing to take part in an initiative, 60% are saying yes. So for me, we just need to use now the window of opportunity, and of course we have to educate company so that they understand the rationale behind dual education.
And
shed more light on the program.
So what is dual VET, right? I think that would be so how it is structured here is the students are usually hired by the industry themselves. So industries and schools sit down together, or the industries hire the apprentices. They say, okay, if you qualify, if you meet the minimum requirements set by CTEVT, then I'll take you as an apprentice.
Exactly.
Then they go to the school, vocational school, and they spend around 3.5 months in the vocational school, learning very basics. So in hospitality, how not to break a glass, maybe, right? And then very basic
etiquette,
stuff,
or
very basic. And then this after that, for 19 and a half months, they spend 5 days in the industry and 1 day back at school. So what that does is 5 days they're really honing the skills, honing their skills, at work, and really honing their skills. 1 day back at school, they are now learning about the theory. So once you are actually exposed to accounts, and then if somebody is teaching you accounts, then you're like, oh yeah, it makes more sense, right? So it also helps students learn better, and then they learn the theory, so they are not doing a monkey mimicking of the industry standards. and then they come back, they sit for an examination at the CTEVT, and now it's a pre-diploma level. We're working towards making it also at a diploma level, and I think the hospitality diploma apprenticeship would start from this year, this academic cycle, which will start right before the same.
And looking at all the hotels opening all across the country, well, this is going to be a program that's definitely going to be worthwhile.
It is, yes. And I also want to say, from an international perspective, those countries, Switzerland is the most innovative country around the world. But also we are the champion with regard to enrollment in dual VET. We have 70% of school leavers who enroll in vocational education training. Even I, by the way, did start at my time. Yeah, I did a banking apprenticeship at that time. You know why? Because I had enough of school. If the problem is, if you are entering your adolescence phase, that's a difficult phase. You want to become an adult. You don't want to sit together with your peers in the classroom. Your brain is boosting for, I want to detect what is the world, how can I make money, And I told my parents, look, I want to know how money works. Seems to be important in the society. And then I could do that. And what I started to realize, of course, after my teenager phase, I was hungry to learn more. And if the system provides opportunity, it's not a problem. For me, what I see across countries is the generation of the teenager are all the same. Half of them just want to become an adult, want to earn money, and want to be independent, and the other one is maybe keen to learn more. But if you don't have a system where you can embed these young people in adult settings, where they can start to learn and work and get self-esteem, then, of course, sometimes it's too late if you do it with 25, 8, 30 years, when they have a family already. So that's not the same. So I really think it's also a solution for half of the cohort. I see it in the United States. I see it in European countries. It's all over the same. So if you have such a solution, and for me, it's an intermediate solution. That means it's not for the life ever, but it's for a successful transition for your life as a kid towards an adult.
Well, very well put. And I was thinking of a few friends of mine, I've had this kind of discussion, but obviously they jumped into something completely different. And when you were talking about that, you had that opportunity to go ahead and spend X amount of time learning X amount of skill set. No, that's fantastic.
The UBS is a famous international bank. Is a head. The CEO is a Swiss person, starting as me with an apprenticeship in his canton. Of course, then he did more. He did Harvard Graduate School. He's now the big boss. So these careers are possible if the system provides that.
The program, share more light on the program on today's date. What's the enrollment like, and where do we stand today in 2024?
So the enrollment, the admission notice would be out soon. In terms of, I think we are doing around 1,500 apprentices. People can be applied, or the education system can take around 1,500 apprentices this year. That's the ballpark figure, and and it's in eight different occupations, from being hospitality management, IT, building construction, supervising role. This is called civil engineering, but it's more building construction. Mechanical technicians, which basically means that you're gonna be operating the big machines in different factories. Electrical engineering, which also means you're going to be a technician at industries or hydropower companies. So those kind of occupations, and even for teachers, if you want to be an early childhood teacher, you can actually enroll in the program.
1,500. When are we opening it?
It should be out soon. We don't have the dates yet.
Not yet. All right. Well, hopefully it happens very soon, and a lot of people sign up for it. One thing that I know, Ursula, you kind of probably didn't want to touch base into this, but I'll touch it, and feel free if you want to share more light on it. There's definitely a big problem on brain drain in this country right now, right? I was asking you for the first time when you were here in 2017, what did you see from far, right? Now you're embedded within us. You're a little bit Nepali already. Other countries go through the brain drain process as well, and other countries have. It's not that people haven't been migrating from Nepal. We've been doing that for centuries now, looking for better opportunities and better jobs. What do you think? What's your thought process? Because both of us are born and probably spent a lot of time here in Nepal. What's your thought process on brain drain?
Oh, I
that you
think
see
it's a
here?
pity. It's a pity. It should not happen like that, but I understand why some of the young people are doing that. I mean, you need to survive, you need to get money. And if you don't get job opportunities in your country, then of course you have to survive and you do whatever you find.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea, but of course it has to do with the existing conditions. And the education system so far is not providing opportunity for everyone. It's not that inclusive. And I'm a big fan, and I see it in my country. We are the most innovative country, not because we have good universities. We have a mix between practically gifted people and academic. And the majority of people in Switzerland have practical education, TVET. And that produces this innovation competence and boosts the competitiveness. So for me, it's about opportunity, create opportunity. Here, and TVET is one of the key factors for industry to grow. And if an industry can grow, if you can work together with those well-trained people, that boosts the industry, and then you get more opportunities in the country. As if the country cannot grow, I mean, we will demonstrate tomorrow what is the problem with the current economy in Nepal. 85% of the companies are saying we don't find the right skills. If they don't find the right skills, they cannot grow. They try to immigrate people because, the others are leaving the country. But for me, this is a sign that the current system is not providing the right skills. And that's where we have to work on. It's, for me, good apprenticeships programs together with the industry. Together with the industry, I have to say, I have to insist in that. Because first of all, young people like to be, especially young people, like to be exposed to the industry and adult setting. You get more self-esteem, you have meaningful work, you know that you can create your social network with the industry, with the partners. And on the other hand, we see that if you do that, the industry gets the skills, and if it's a win-win situation, why should you? And then if you grow, you can move on. The other factor is the permeability in the system. There is only a college, university for progression routes. So far, your national vocational qualification framework is a system approved by the government, would allow that you have TVET for level 6, 7, and 8. And these are in a career within the hotel, from a cook to a beverage manager, to a line manager, to a hotel manager. That could be done here, and that is a missing piece.
The catch is, there's one more thing that I'll give you an example of a friend of mine. He runs he runs a school now. He used to run a hotel in a part of this country. I still remember a moment when we were talking, and he mentioned that I'm just an exit hotel for young kids who want to come to Kathmandu. Now, another friend of mine owns a hotel in Kathmandu. Now, obviously, what he says is, I'm just an exit hotel for kids who want to go ahead and leave and work outside, let's say, any of the Middle Eastern countries or anywhere else in the world, right? Now, the pay gap, the pay scale, which is one of the reasons why the kids don't want to go ahead and stay in this country? Because the pay scale is very low?
Yeah, but I agree. The pay scale is maybe low, but if you get a training, the economic theory are telling you that, and this is in Switzerland, apprentices are paid 20% of a salary of a full trained person, 20% only. Why? Because hopefully they get a good training. And that's the investment of a company. If they have to pay in structure, then maybe you have to afford material or whatever costs. They have to pay the apprentice a small salary, but they also have to train the apprentice. And this is education. So that's why there is we can say differently, these are students who get the salary on the way forward.
Yeah. What's your take on this?
I think you're talking about post-training employment, right? So if you, and in terms of exit and training people, So if you have the apprenticeship, and the students would have, the youths would have a second motive. They also get a degree,
Yeah.
right? So they have a second motive to stay. And if you're actually turning a profit by having, or your net cash positive during those years, I mean, there's no reason to say, okay, they exit, but then they trained, they also were productive for me. So that's already a solution for, hotels often complaining like, okay, I train them and then they leave.
They're leaving. They're going
Right.
somewhere
So
else.
that is one side. And in terms of post-training employment, the pay gap that you talk about, this is where I think the productivity and the efficiency comes in. So if you have the right training, you're already very productive, then, I mean, at a minimum wage, you're getting probably 17,000.
500. Yeah.
17,500. But if you can do the work of 2 people or 3 people, which you can actually start doing pretty early, then the industry also has the motivation to pay you higher, right? So it's
Or to upgrade you and make you go higher and higher sooner.
higher and higher
Yeah.
sooner.
And don't forget the opportunity costs. If they say, okay, we are using immigrants, there are opportunity costs too. And that's sometimes underestimated. And of course, I mean, the same discussion in Switzerland, whether the salaries should go up. And of course, a lot of people are complaining we don't get enough money. All the prices are going up, but the salary stays the same, That's a normal complaint. And it depends on whether the company is able to pay more, Otherwise, the company cannot survive. It's a little bit about good ownership and also good culture in the company, that they validate what kind of, and particularly if they want to have the Nepali people here, they should care about that.
That's what I'm saying. So tomorrow, since you have the seminar, see, there's a thing that I've been constantly mentioning this to the policy level, friends in the policy level. People need to get paid. I'm not just talking about in private sector, but definitely in government service too. Obviously, we talk about giving service to the common people, but people definitely need to get paid enough so that they could survive, not just in Kathmandu, but all across the country, right? So I'm sure tomorrow when you're talking to friends from NADA, friends from Hotel Association, friends from CNI, I'm sure this is also going to come up. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, pay, like different countries have different pays, different structures, the cost of living is different. So for example, even for me, like I studied in Hong Kong, I spent some time in London, I came back, but if you look at my pay now, and if I say, okay, I want to work in London or different places, of course there will be a different pay gap.
Yeah.
That's reality.
Yeah.
Right? So, but then there are so many other factors that also brings you here. And then if you start looking at the cost of living, the purchasing power parity,
Exactly.
then the gap does not become
That big?
that big and that different.
If you want to study in Switzerland, tuition fees is very low, but the living costs are extraordinarily high. So that means nobody knows whether you can really afford a study. The university is the smallest problem. The problem is the living costs.
Obviously, we can talk about this forever and ever, and then I'll jump into brain drain forever and ever. Again, my 2 cents on it is kids definitely need to be able to go ahead and get paid more. That's something that I'm a big believer in, and that's what I try to go ahead and do it within my organization, and I definitely want to share that with a lot of industry owners some of them are very good friends with me, and I definitely share with them that either give them skills or pay them more. Otherwise, they're not going to stay in this country anymore. Being bluntly honest here, since we're having this conversation.
Yeah,
right?
and develop entrepreneurship, Is also, I would say, in TVET is also a good vehicle where you can, on the way, learn how to set up a company.
Yeah.
Because we have not enough jobs here in this country. So the alternative, you create jobs, and for that you need entrepreneurial skills.
Exactly, no doubt on that. There's something earlier, Pankaj, you shared that we also have something specific in IT. And I believe that's something that's going to be booming in the coming years. What exactly are we doing when it comes to IT?
The IT courses at the technical level, so this is for secondary level
Yeah,
education, right?
yeah.
So it's what it trains you to become is, or where the graduates are of this program are usually in shops repairing laptops, repairing mobile phones. So that is what it trains you to become on the hardware side. On the software side, it provides you the basis to start knowing about software, learning a few things, and then you probably have to do a higher degree to really get into actual.
But that's a fantastic step forward, right? That's a good stepping stone towards a better future.
Yes,
within that sector. That's fantastic.
And there is a bunch of other opportunity like media, in media, or let's say web designer, or I see that a lot of schools don't have websites, and these young people could be trained in we have an occupation in Switzerland called mediamatician. It's a hybrid occupation, IT, design and commercial aspects.
Mediamatician, I like that a lot. Yeah,
yes.
I like that a lot. Demand of TVET outside Nepal?
The demand of TVET outside is huge. And the driver behind is digital transformation. Because, digital transformation leads to a fast change of qualification requirement in the labor market. Mm-hmm. And that means schools, the less they are dynamic and change curriculum and know what the labor market is looking for, the more they are disconnected from the labor market. And that produces skills mismatch. And the only solution for that is co-production of skills, so that the student can learn. It's also challenging universities. I just heard the Vice Chancellor of the Kathmandu University saying that even university graduates need this type of skills, otherwise they find not a job in the labor market. The problem is the fast change of these qualification requirements is telling you the company want to have transferable skills. They want to see whether you have a good attitude, whether you're a good human being, whether you are a problem solver, whether you have a work ethic which helps me as a company to do anything, to solve any problem. That means it's not so important whether you have learned Java programming language. It's more important that you are flexible to adapt to what is new. And that means these so-called soft skills, they cannot be well trained in the school setting, because you have to be exposed several times to a certain situation to get that kind of soft skills. And that's why worldwide the trend is going towards TVET. But, and this is the advantage for Nepal, you need industry association who are committed, industry association who want to care about that, who help to coordinate with schools and so on. And in a lot of countries, they don't have industry association. The good news here, and we will present that tomorrow, you have that. The only thing that the industry need to better understand is what is their role in education, role, responsibility, and what kind of training they can provide.
I was reading on this, and I remember writing it down. In 2013, there was an article that the government had proposed making grade 12 completion of grade 12 a requirement for enrolling in TVET courses, right? Where do we stand on this now? Or this was just an article that was there and nothing like this has ever happened?
It has not happened.
Okay. So I'd read...
When did you say the article was?
This was 2013. It was mentioned somewhere in the 2023 article. Nothing along that line, right? No. So the government's completely open.
But the government need to have the money first to do that,
Yeah.
I mean, if that is mandatory, you have to check the demographic figures, and you have to have much more students in those programs. And then also the question is, what kind of program? Again, I go back to what those young professionals want. And I would say half of them don't want to go to school. They want to start to create their own life, and that means they need TVET.
When it comes to GDP as well, right? There's around X amount of percentage that we definitely go ahead and contribute when we go ahead and go through the program, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's something that we definitely need to go ahead and highlight over time.
GDP contribution by TVET?
Definitely, right? The contribution of TVET to the GDP is higher than the contribution of administrative and supportive services activities. That's what... There's another solid article that I was going through yesterday as well, it goes back to what I said. Yes, if it's a 24-month apprenticeship or is a dual apprenticeship where the companies train young people and
get a productive new source, human capital in the company, and whether it pays off, because that's the precondition to grow. And if the company can grow, of course, they contribute to the productivity and to the GDP.
And the ratio that we were talking about earlier when it comes to men and women signing up as well for the program?
Yeah, I think that has increased over the years, right? Healthcare always had a high percentage, but I think people are starting to get into these, let's say, more male occupations, from hotel management, IT, civil engineering. We had a huge upsurge in number of applications for civil engineers, and yeah, so from when we started the apprenticeship program in 2019, it was 20%. The last intake, this was the 2023 intake, it was 47% female applicants. So when you can have really role models who can show that, okay, you can become like a mechanical technician.
Yeah.
You know, you're welding, you're doing the machine operations, and you can be a female and do that.
Yeah.
And then next year your supervisors are that.
Yeah.
Then you know the attraction of that occupation really goes up. So it's also the other thing about the apprenticeship, the randomized controlled trial, what it showed was the effect on the women to find employment was much larger. I think Ursula can talk a lot more on it than I can, but yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, that was a surprising fact, I have to say. And but I agree with you. We need to bring those success factors or those successful young professionals into the spotlight, so that they can tell the story. It's all about influencing your peers. You know, if you have made a good experience, you should share that, and you should get a platform to share that. And of course, media is one source, but panel discussion is another one. Social media campaign is a third one. I definitely say that the gender bias issue is an issue in all the country, including,
not just here,
including Switzerland. Yeah, of course, yes. And it's deeply rooted in our society. You know, we have a kind of, in Switzerland, we think women are made for that and men are made for something else. You know, this has a very long tradition, and we can do whatever innovative project we want. We don't get rid of that. And so then you have to accept it. And the other side is, what is the market looking for? You know, I would say I would not plan that, how many women are here and what they want to do. We have to see what opportunities are there, and then try to, through career guidance is a topic I'd like to also discuss, through career guidance, identify what are the preferences of the young people. And then it's always about option 1, option 2, option 3. Because mostly, I mean, if you have a well-established let's say, dual apprenticeship system, it's a market behind. It's a market of opportunity, and it's a market with young people who want to do something. And you have to do a matchmaking. So who fits for which of open position in what area? And this is a market. In Switzerland, we have 80,000 per year, or even 100,000 people in this market. And of course, in average, that works. But if you go in a certain province, you may have a mismatch between demand and supply. And that means the career guidance can help the young person to evaluate option 1, option 2, and option 3. And for me, my lessons learned after being about 35 years in this business, nowadays, because of this fast change in the world, it's not so important what you are doing in your first education, you know. It's more important that you are doing something, that you get to a certificate, and then you have the world is open to you, and the world will change, and therefore you need to continue with your education. And
in this digital world as well, what does your 35 years of experience say? Like, where do kids go ahead and get information from?
Career Guidance Center, peer groups. There are intelligent models. We have internet platforms for matchmaking. That means apprenticeship places, and the search process for young professionals. They get guidance. What do I want to do? For example, they see pictures. Do I want to work with animals? Do I want to work with human beings? Do I want to work with computers? And then if they have a kind of a selection of, let's say, 10 occupations, they go deeper. Why are you want to work with human beings or with animals? what you expect there, and we help them to identify whether this is really what they want. And then the next step is they have to be exposed to a first, let's say, we have a kind of a strange word in English, sniffing course. That means they have to visit the company and to see what does this mean if I work as a hairdresser, as an animal scientist in one of these companies. And if they see, oh, I like that, then the career guidance asks, why do you like that? The boss is a role model, or I like animals.
I mean, in terms of career guidance, something for our listeners is, if you really want to, there are tools that helps you find what are your interests and what are the occupations, right? And right now the Education Ministry has a website which provides you, the Federal Education Ministry has a website that within the Education Ministry's website you can get the career guidance for Nepal. And the same with the Bagmati Province's Ministry of Social Development. So if you search them, you can actually do your personality test, figure out based on what are your interests, what are your personality traits, and what are the occupations, like that really helps you.
I'd seen the website. I remember seeing the website on the previous government when the minister was there. Well, let's not get into who it was, but I remember looking into that, because there were a lot of conversations when it comes to education happening at that time. I'm not trying to say that it's not happening now.
And something else that sparked was like, now, even in formal education and in TVET, normally what we are teaching is in a school is like, okay, we'll teach you how to make Indian cuisine, or we'll teach you how to make Chinese cuisine. But what is required in today's labor market is you have the techniques how to do that. You can probably know how to fry a satay, but then it's about, can you look at a recipe online and make those dishes for 1,000 people, right? So how you learn, how you teach, and how you apply in the labor market has changed. And this is not only for TVET, but also in the other labor markets. And these are the skills you actually learn better at the workplace. So all these softer skills.
No doubt on that. No, I completely agree. I'll give you a gist of something that's going to be new for both of you. Today we're sitting here and this fantastic studio, I believe, right? I started my career working when I had just finished high school. And you go through a transition phase when you finish high school and you head on towards college, back in the day when we were in Nepal. And this is when you're applying or you're just going through a phase with your friends. I started working when I was 18 years old. I started working in a call center. Call center is generally when you talk to people over the phone. Yeah. I worked there. I still remember working there, and that taught me so much more. And I still utilize each and everything that I learned there, almost each and everything, till today. Even when it comes to writing a small little email to somebody, I still remember what I was taught when I was working there. So working is definitely going to teach you a lot more than going ahead and just going through school, right? So I agree with you on this. 5 days of working and then 1 day of going to school is definitely something that if somebody hasn't thought of going ahead and getting like a full-fledged formal education, this is something that's definitely there for a lot of friends as well. I'm with you on this, all right? I'm with you on this. Sorry, Pankaj, I know you want to add to this.
No, it's like my first job was repair as a EV technician, like electric vehicle temples. I used to work on a plant that manufactured and repaired it.
Where was this?
This was in Imadol, here, like Safa temples.
Hey, what?
Right? And I mean, the lesson that I learned there was it's easier to do it right the first time. But it's easier to manufacture than to repair. Right? And that has really helped me when I design programs. And it's like, I need to get the plans right. And afterwards, it's easier if there's some mess up.
It taught you. It taught you that solid ground foundation, right?
Or I have another example. When I did my apprenticeship in the bank, I remember as a 15-year-old, you're sitting in your office and you are afraid of doing everything correct. And then they told you have to take the phone calls, And then I took a phone call. And I have learned how to say my name and the company, company's name. And then you have to listen. And then I was so shocked because the client was speaking in French and my language is German. So I was, I had a kind of, do I understand that? But this kicked me to the point that, okay, French is important. I need to learn now how to make sentence, And these are small things which tell you, even the school subject you may not like. for a certain occupation, you have to start to realize, okay, I need to call people and speak in French. Sorry to say, I need to know how to make that sentence, And more important, I need to be courageous that even though I make mistakes, I can lead a conversation with the client. That was my lesson learned. Nowadays, I don't care about mistakes in my language. As soon as you understand me, it's okay.
Yeah, no, well, that's something that you learned when you were 15. How old were you when you were helping out at Safa Temple?
18.
18, well, there you go. I was 18 when I just started off as well. There's a data that obviously, there's so many data that I have, and I might get some wrong, This is something that I had asked my team to look into this from a backdate data. 85% male and 15% female vocational training graduates in rural areas. This is back in the day, okay? In urban areas, 91% males and 9% females in both public and private technical schools, okay? This is from 2006. This is a data from 2006, give or take. And now things have changed.
Yes. Yeah, it has improved. I don't know the whole scenario, but for the apprenticeship program, which I look after very closely, it's 47% females. That's a huge jump. And that's also to do with, it's a bunch of different things, right? There's the work environment in this, the learning environment at the school, the work environment in the industry. It's about what are the courses being offered. So if you're doing a very, let's say, the traditionally male-friendly occupations only, from that to transition into other more neutral occupation or newer occupations where it's not actually segregated who does it. So all those things really help.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And again, backdated data always gives you a perspective when you're ahead. And then imagine us sitting down again in another 10 years or in another 5 years and then looking back at the data from now and how far we've come. I believe that's something that's...
you will definitely
imagine data from 35 years ago when you were starting off and now when you look back at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, it's all about innovation. It's all about, I always say, people go ahead. I mean, be innovative, be creative. Think about new solutions for problems, This is the way how you can develop a country. And you need to create allies, those people who understand what you mean and those people who see them as pioneers. It's about language. It's about motivating people. It's about inspiring people so that they see, okay, we can go beyond our comfort zone and we can do things differently. And thanks to Donor Partner, that they, of course, have a lot of ideas to come up with innovative project. And if the government people, but also, let's say, the reform leaders, if they see that it makes sense and that they progress, that creates that movement. And I'm pretty sure, I'm actually here since 7 years, and I saw those progress within 7 years, and it's amazing, I have to say, it's amazing. Really what the discussion, the dialogue, which I can lead with any people, it's totally different to 7 years ago. And I can imagine that in 7 years from now, I can tell you the TVET will be in the center, I'm almost sure, because it provides opportunity for everyone. It can be very inclusive, also for the very poor, remote area people. And I guess this is the dream for all the education leaders, that they can provide solution for everyone. So I'm very optimistic. I always say and I will say tomorrow also, this country can make a showcase in Asia because of this kind of simultaneous engineering on all levels, schools, industry, government, everything, and this is very special. And therefore, yes, let's come together in 5 years from now.
Partnership when it comes to government and private and the coordination and the conversation with them. How has it been so far?
And the construction, let's say.
Sure.
Let's say that. Well, tomorrow, I have to say it's pretty normal that, and I was a Secretary of Education in Switzerland back to 2005, and I had the same issue, if you are working in a government, you think we are the cracks, we have the overview, we can control the country, and then you start to realize if you are out of the government, what the hell I was thinking about, No, of course, industry is much more important, They make the business. They have a lot of jobs, for people. So what I learned from that, and Switzerland has a good public-private partnership, I have to say, goes decades ago. But here we are very close to a very fruitful partnership if both sides are open, and if both sides are doing their homework. I have to say industry must move towards a coordinated approach, because if you are fragmented, if you have hundreds of associations who are going in different directions, that's for a system not good. So what I recommend is that they work together, that they develop a strategy, that they educate their own companies, what is their role, what they could do, how many job opportunities they have for the young generation. This is something which we have to address now, and that's maybe in the next 12 months one of our priority also. And then on the other side, I try to say to the government, look, if you don't have money for TVET or for any other opportunity for young kids, embrace the industry, because if that is a payoff for companies, it's a win-win for both. So it's a learning journey, I have to say. It's not easy. It's a cultural change that takes a little bit time. But here, I would say you have the best window for opportunity to do it. It's much more difficult to do it in the United States, I have to say.
I want to, before we get into this, share a little bit light on the partnership between CG, the MOU that happened with CG. If that's fine with you as well.
Yes. So before this, the partnership, because to frame it, right?
Yeah.
So why do we have trainings? It is to get people into employment. Who provides employment? It's the industries.
True.
Right. So, and who knows which occupations or jobs are upcoming? The industries. Who needs to trust the certificate that the youth are showing? The industries. Who knows what should be taught within industries, right? So when everything is industries, so the partnership in vocational education with the industries is like extremely important, right? So, and then you need, you talked about the memorandum understanding with Chaudhary Group, but that is one MOU, of course, because it's Chaudhary Group, everybody knows about it, but there are 750 industries participating in the apprenticeship program. Yeah. And this is where the training delivery happens, not the curriculum design, which is also important, not on the assessment, but these are being done at a separate level. So on the training delivery, as we talked, right, learning in the work is very important. I think we've talked enough. So this is where the MOU, what it allows is the youths will be able to be part of the Chaudhary Group to learn to become, they'll hire the apprentices and train them, and then they'll graduate, be ready. Imagine being trained at a Chaudhary Group, you'd be more likely to be hired elsewhere as well. And to really foster the collaboration between the industries, the government, you need reform leaders, and the reform leaders need to know what works, what has worked in different parts of the world, what has worked in Nepal, what is the research saying. Yeah. So for that, what ETH Zürich and Kathmandu universities are working together to have a reform lab. So if you are a mayor or you are an industry leader, like you are the chairperson of a provincial hotel association, for example, then you can be like, okay, this is how I want to train my skills workforce. I'll come with a reform case. It opens every year, and then you come with a reform case, and then you're like, okay, what are the different learnings that you have? Yeah. And then you get feedback, different research. They help you highlight it, refine your how to move from the reform idea into an implementation plan. And that is happening for the last 2 years in Nepal. 2 years, I think we talked about the Tattva municipality. This year, we have people from the Kathmandu metropolitan city. There's a team from there, led by the deputy mayor. We have from the industries. There's a team from Koshi province, where we have the Chamber of Industries Morang, the mayor of Duhabi municipality there, so a few industries. We have a team from Sudupasim. So. Yeah. It's about
collaborative effort.
Collaborative effort, and then getting the reform agendas in place, working together, identifying the best research, and really pushing through.
And this is the experimental lab where they can experience coordination. And the good thing is that we have each year 7 cases, and they're coming from all provinces, and sometimes from the local level, sometimes from the province level, one is from the federal level. And in this lab, it's like a laboratorium, they start to understand what is the problem of a federal level, what is the problem of a province level, and those higher level sees what is the problem on a local level. And this common understanding helps, to work together.
Yeah. I also want to go ahead and throw in my 2 cents on it, that the media industry is very big. And coming in the near future, the digital and the content industry is going to be very, very, very humongous. We might be in a place, this is just me throwing it in, we might be in such a fantastic place where we could be creating amazing content, not just for Nepal, but for around the world. Because we are and we will have a big chunk of population that is going to be speaking in multi-language, not just one language. So that's one industry that is definitely going to grow over the years, and I'd love to go ahead and have more trained individuals coming in, or we'd be more than happy to go ahead and have individuals or young kids who want to go ahead and learn soft skills when it comes to media as well. That's something we could look into.
Yeah, and there's already companies like I think companies that do CGI graphics for Disney and stuff in Nepal, which is
Incessant Rain. There you go.
Incessant Rain, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing amazing things, and mark my words, we will be producing content for India. We will be producing content for the rest of the English-speaking world over time, and we will need a lot of young people and a big workforce who is going to be, slightly trained.
Like the mathematician.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. That's what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I was saying. We should definitely go ahead and work towards that. Future, Dr. Reynolds, what do you think the vision and the future of the TVET sector, as well as the STC's plan on continued support for the sector and opportunities?
Well, I definitely think it's a hot topic, and it will stay a hot topic.
Yeah.
I'm very convinced because really, compared to other countries, here you have these low-hanging fruits. You have this, I call that simultaneous engineering. You are working on different projects on the same time. It's just someone has to have the overview, how one project have an impact on the other one. And this is what I consider speeding up the whole process if you do it in parallel. And this is what happens here in Nepal. So it depends a little bit on the stability in the government. This is, of course, a critical issue. But again, in the next 5 years, for me, the industry must be committed. The industry must learn what they have to do. The industry should offer apprenticeship places. And then that is what makes young people happy because they get access to jobs. And the rest is engineering. The rest, engineering of the system, means we need not only TVET for grade 12 people, we need TVET for adult people too, level 6, 7, and 8 in your national vocational qualification framework. And that makes the TVET system attractive because it's not a dead end. And those who never can enter a college, which is just normal, it's in all countries like that, they have other opportunities. And in my view, that helps to cut a little bit the brain drain, because then they see opportunity in the country.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. And Pankaj, along the same line, right towards the end, right? Anything specific that you want to share that we didn't touch today at all?
No, I think we covered everything.
Let's mobilize the young generation, that they fight for. I want to be a TVET graduate. I'm a poster child of TVET, and not just because I've did a banking apprenticeship, because I worked the whole life in that. And as a researcher also, I have to say, it's very cool to work and analyze the TVET sector because it's more complex, it's more dynamic, and it's the future because of the digital transformation.
Yeah, things are changing rapidly, and I personally, everybody knows why I do this as well. Even if one kid who is listening right now, or one adult, obviously youth in this country is still considered till 40, which is, I haven't heard of. I'm 36, 37 now, so obviously I'm not a youth anymore, but we're still considered that. So young
professionals. I like young professionals.
There you go. So somebody, even one person who's listening right now, if he or she, they go ahead and sign up. How many do we have for the program? 1,500, right?
1,500.
We've won. That's how I'm going to go ahead and take it. Thank you so much for your time. Anything specific you want to go ahead and say to everybody who are listening, Dr. Reynolds?
Happy Nepali, happy TVET.
Happy Nepali, prosperous.
Yes,
Nepal
prosperous.
through TVET.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you so much.
We'll end it right here. Okay.